Commander Marcus Cole opened his eyes to a world of white light and strange sounds. His head felt like someone had filled it with broken glass and then shaken it hard. His body refused to move the way he wanted it to. The ceiling above him was not metal or plastic like he expected. Instead, it seemed to be made of some kind of living material that pulsed with soft blue light. He had never seen anything like it in all his years flying cargo ships through the outer systems. Where was he? The last thing he remembered was the explosion. His ship, the Helena's Dream, had been carrying medical supplies to a mining colony when something went wrong in the engine room. Fire and smoke and screaming alarms. Then the evacuation pod and the violent shaking as it launched away from the dying vessel. He must have passed out after that. Marcus tried to sit up, but his arms felt weak and heavy. A strange warmth was spreading through his veins, starting from a spot on his left arm and moving slowly toward his chest. It was not painful exactly, but it felt wrong somehow, like his blood had been replaced with something too hot. A sound made him turn his head. Standing beside his bed was a creature he had only seen in pictures during his training years ago. An insectoid alien with large compound eyes that reflected the light like 1,000 tiny mirrors. Her body was covered in a hard shell the color of dark honey, and her forearms moved nervously as she looked at him. She was holding an empty syringe. Alien's translator device crackled to life, producing words in a voice that sounded almost mechanical. "You are awake." "That should not be possible." "You should not be awake." Marcus opened his mouth to speak, but only a dry croak came out. "What did you do?" the alien asked, but she seemed to be asking herself rather than him. Her compound eyes kept moving between his face and the empty syringe in her trembling hand. Before Marcus could try to speak again, the door to the room slid open with a soft hiss. Another alien entered, and this one was completely different from the insectoid. It stood nearly 7 feet tall, with gray skin that looked like stone and eyes that burned with orange fire. Its face had no nose, just 2 slits above a wide mouth filled with small, sharp teeth. The gray alien saw the empty syringe and froze. Its burning eyes moved to a small table near the bed, where an empty vial lay on its side. Marcus could see strange symbols on the label that he could not read. "Vethkari," the gray alien said in a voice like grinding rocks. "Tell me you did not use the compound in that vial." The insectoid, whose name was apparently Vethkari, made a clicking sound with her mandibles that needed no translation. It was the sound of pure fear. "He was dying," she said quickly. "The pod impact caused severe internal damage. I needed to stabilize his neural functions, or he would have been dead in minutes. I grabbed the first compound I saw. I did not check the label. I did not realize you gave a human compound Sarath 9, the gray alien interrupted. His voice was cold and hard now. "You gave the most dangerous neural enhancement drug in the entire Galactic Union to a Class D organism." Marcus did not know what Class D meant, but he could tell from the way both aliens were looking at him that it was not good. "I made a mistake," Vethkari said. Her voice was barely a whisper now. "I know I made a terrible mistake." "A mistake?" the gray alien repeated. "Sarath 9 is designed for species with neural density ratings of 7 or higher. It is meant for apex predators with brains that can handle extreme enhancement. Humans are rated at 2. Their nervous systems are among the most primitive we have ever encountered. This compound will burn through his brain like fire through dry paper." The warmth in Marcus's body was getting stronger now. He could feel it pushing into his head, spreading behind his eyes. Colors were starting to look different, sharper somehow. He could hear sound from far away, footsteps and voices and the humming of machines. "How long does he have?" the gray alien demanded. Vethkari looked at a glowing screen beside the bed. Her compound eyes scanned the data there. "Based on his biology and the dosage I administered, his neural pathways should begin to collapse within the hour. Full system failure will follow shortly after. There is nothing we can do to stop it now. The gray alien made a sound of disgust and turned away. Document everything. The Union Medical Council will want a complete record of this incident. Another human death due to incompatible treatment. Marcus felt fear grip his heart. He was going to die here, in this strange place, surrounded by aliens who saw him as nothing more than a fragile, primitive creature. He thought of his daughter Emma back on Earth, waiting for him to come home. He had promised her he would be back in time for her birthday. Vitakari leaned close to him. Her compound eyes were wet with something that might have been tears. Her translator crackled as she spoke in a whisper meant only for him. I am so sorry. I never meant for this to happen. Please understand that I was trying to save you. She paused, and her voice dropped even lower. Humans cannot handle this. No one from your species ever has. I am sorry. The warmth behind Marcus's eyes was turning into heat now, and the heat was turning into fire. The world around him was becoming too bright, too loud, too much. He could feel his heart pounding in his chest like a drum. Faster and faster alarms began to blare as his vital signs went wild on the monitors. Medical staff rushed into the room, all different species, all wearing the same expression of grim certainty. They had seen this before. They knew how it ended. Marcus closed his eyes and prepared to die, but somewhere deep inside him, in a place that had been forged by millions of years of survival against impossible odds, something else was happening. Something his ancestors would have recognized. Even if they could not have explained it, his body was not giving up, it was fighting back. The hours that followed were the worst of Marcus Cole's entire life. The Serothine compound moved through his nervous system like a wildfire, touching every nerve ending and setting it ablaze with sensation. His skin felt like it was covered in a million tiny needles. His muscles cramped and twisted without his control. His eyes saw colors that had no names, patterns that should not exist. He screamed until his throat was raw and bleeding. He gripped the metal frame of his bed so hard that it bent under his fingers. Sweat poured from his body and soaked the strange fabric beneath him. Every heartbeat felt like an explosion in his chest, outside his quarantine room. A crowd had gathered, the medical staff of Galactic Union Station threshold pressed against the glass wall, watching the human with a mixture of horror and scientific curiosity. Word had spread quickly through the station that something unprecedented was happening in the medical bay. His vitals are impossible, one doctor said. A creature that looked like a floating jellyfish with glowing tendrils. His heart rate has exceeded 300 beats per minute multiple times. His brain activity is off our scales. He should have been dead hours ago. Perhaps the compound is acting differently in his biology. Another suggested, a small furry being with large dark eyes. Perhaps his death will simply take longer. Vethkari stood apart from the others, her compound eyes never leaving Marcus's writhing form. She had not eaten or rested since the accident. Guilt pressed down on her like a physical weight. The gray alien doctor, whose name was Torvan Prime Helix, stood beside her with his arms crossed over his broad chest. You should prepare your statement for the medical council, he said coldly. They will want to know exactly how this happened. I know what I did, Vethkari replied. Her voice was empty and tired. I do not need you to remind me. Inside the room, Marcus felt like he was being torn apart and rebuilt at the same time. The fire behind his eyes had become so intense that he could barely think. But somewhere in the chaos, he began to notice something strange. The pain was not getting worse. It was still terrible, still almost unbearable, but it had stopped increasing. His body seemed to have found some kind of limit, some boundary that it was holding despite everything, and then something even stranger happened. His senses began to sharpen. He could suddenly hear the conversations outside his room, even though the glass wall should have blocked all sound. He could hear the jellyfish doctor discussing his vital signs. He could hear Helix telling Vethkari to prepare her statement. He could hear the heartbeats of every alien watching him, each one different, but all of them steady with the calm certainty of creatures who expected to watch him die. He could see things too. The ultraviolet spectrum bled off the lights in streaks of invisible color. He could see the heat signatures of the bodies beyond the glass. He could see the tiny organisms floating in the recycled air, but no one else seemed to notice. The pain began to fade, not disappear, not completely, but it was becoming manageable now. His muscles relaxed their terrible cramping. His heartbeat slowed from its dangerous racing. His breathing became deep and regular. Instead of the shallow gasping it had been, Marcus opened his eyes fully for the first time in hours. The light no longer hurt. In fact, everything looked clearer than it ever had before. He could see individual dust particles floating in the air. He could see the patterns in the living ceiling material, complex and beautiful. He could see the fear on Vethkari's face through the glass, sharper and more detailed than any human eye should be able to perceive. He sat up. The crowd outside went completely silent. Nobody moved. Nobody even seemed to breathe. Marcus looked down at his hands. They were shaking slightly, but they were his hands. He flexed his fingers and felt strength there, real strength, more than he had ever felt before. Impossible, someone whispered. The words spread through the crowd like a ripple through water. Vethkari broke away from the others and rushed to the door of his room. She entered quickly, her forearms reaching out to check his vital signs with trembling instruments. "Your neural pathways," she said. Her voice was barely audible. "They should be destroyed. The compound was too strong for human biology. Your brain should have burned itself out." Marcus looked at her. His eyes felt different, and he wondered if they looked different too. "What happened to me?" Vethkari stared at the readings on her instruments for a long moment before answering. "I do not know. Nothing in our medical knowledge can explain this. The Serath-9 should have killed you within the first hour. Instead, your nervous system appears to have adapted to it." "Adapted?" "Your brain changed," she said slowly, as if she could not quite believe her own words. "Instead of being overwhelmed by the compound, it found a way to integrate it. I have never seen anything like this. No species in our records has ever survived Serath-9 without proper biological compatibility." Marcus swung his legs over the side of the bed and stood up. His muscles felt strange, coiled with energy that wanted to be released. His senses continued to feed him information that should have been impossible to perceive. "I feel different," he said. "I can hear things I should not be able to hear. I can see things that should be invisible. Time feels slower when I concentrate." Vethkari's compound eyes widened. "Those are the enhancement effects of the compound. They are working as designed, but they should not be possible in a human." The door opened again, and Torvine Prime Helix entered. His orange eyes burned as he examined Marcus with barely concealed disbelief. "This is not possible. You are Class D. Your species has the most limited neural capacity of any spacefaring race in the Union. And yet, here I am," Marcus replied. He was surprised by the steadiness in his own voice. Helix moved closer, studying him like a specimen in a laboratory. "We have been using Serath-9 for over 300 years. It has been given to thousands of candidates from dozens of apex species. The success rate is less than 40% even among compatible recipients. You should not exist." Marcus met the alien's fiery gaze without flinching. "I do not know what to tell you. I am still here, the station commander." A serpentine creature with scales that shimmered like oil on water pushed through the crowd and entered the room. "I have contacted Galactic Union Command. They are sending representatives immediately. This human has become a matter of considerable interest." Marcus felt a chill run down his enhanced spine. He did not like the way the commander said that word. Interest? What kind of interest? he asked. The commander's forked tongue flickered out briefly. The kind that changes lives, Commander Cole. For better or worse remains to be seen. Vethkari stepped closer to Marcus, positioning herself almost protectively beside him. It was the first time anyone on this station had treated him as anything other than a dying specimen or a scientific curiosity. Whatever happens next, she said quietly, I will not leave your side. I did this to you. I am responsible for whatever you have become. Marcus looked at her trembling hands and guilt-filled eyes, and he realized something important. Despite everything, she had been trying to save him when she made her mistake. She had acted out of compassion, even if the result had been catastrophic. Thank you, he said simply through the glass wall. He could see the crowd of aliens still watching him, their faces filled with confusion and fear and wonder. He was something new, something that should not exist according to everything they knew about the universe. And somewhere deep in his enhanced mind, Marcus understood that his life would never be the same again. 3 days after Marcus Cole should have died, a ship arrived at Threshold Station carrying passengers that made even the station commander nervous. Marcus watched from the window of his temporary quarters as the sleek black vessel docked at the main port. It was unlike any ship he had seen before, all sharp angles and smooth surfaces that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Even with his enhanced vision, he could not make out any markings or identification. Galactic Union Intelligence Division, Vethkari said from behind him. She had been given permission to stay with Marcus as his medical handler, though he suspected she was also being watched as closely as he was. They do not advertise their presence. What do they want with me? I do not know, she admitted. But they are not the kind of people who make social visits. An hour later, Marcus found out exactly what they wanted. He was escorted to a large conference room in the administrative section of the station. The room had no windows, and the walls were made of some material that his enhanced senses could not penetrate. It felt like being inside a box with no way out. A single alien sat at the head of the long table. Waiting for him, this creature was something Marcus had never seen before. Its body was thin and elongated, wrapped in flowing robes of deep purple. Its face was almost human-like, but too perfect, too symmetrical, with large eyes that held no warmth. Its skin was pale blue and completely smooth. Commander Marcus Cole, the alien said. Its voice was soft but carried an edge of absolute authority. I am High Arbiter Sen of the Galactic Union Intelligence Division. Please, sit. Marcus sat across from the alien, keeping his back straight and his expression neutral. His enhanced senses were screaming at him that this creature was dangerous, that every word and gesture was calculated for maximum effect. You have become quite famous in a very short time, Sen continued. A human who survived Serath 9, the first Class D organism to ever integrate the most powerful neural enhancement compound in our arsenal. Do you understand how significant that is? I am starting to, Marcus replied. Sen's perfect face showed no emotion. The compound you were given is not simply a medical treatment. It was developed for Union special operatives, agents who work in the most dangerous environments across the galaxy. It enhances perception, reaction time, and cognitive function to levels far beyond normal biological limits. And you, a human, have somehow absorbed it completely. I did not ask for this, Marcus said. No, Sen agreed. But you have it now, and that creates both opportunities and complications. The High Arbiter pressed something on the table, and a holographic image appeared in the air between them. It showed a Torvan, one of the gray-skinned giants like Helix. But this one's face was covered in scars, and his eyes held a cold intelligence that made Marcus uncomfortable even through the projection. This is Kathmaro, Sen explained. He was once one of our best operatives, enhanced with Serath 9 and trained for years in combat and infiltration. 3 years ago, he went rogue. He now leads a terrorist organization called the Hollow Dawn. The image changed to show scenes of destruction. Space stations torn apart. Colonies burning, ships reduced to floating debris. Morrow has killed over 12,000 beings across 14 star systems. Sen continued. He believes the Galactic Union is corrupt and must be destroyed. He targets civilian populations to spread fear. And he has been impossible to catch because he is always 3 steps ahead of every operative we send. Why are you telling me this? Marcus asked, though he was beginning to understand. Sen's eyes locked onto his. Because you are something new, Commander Cole. Morrow knows how enhanced operatives think. He knows their training, their methods, their limitations. But he does not know you. You are an anomaly, a human with abilities that should not exist. Your brain works differently than any enhanced operative we have ever produced. You want me to hunt him? I want you to help us stop him, Sen corrected. You would not be alone. We would provide you with a team, resources, everything you need. And in exchange, the High Arbiter paused, letting the silence build. In exchange for your help, the Galactic Union will grant Earth full membership in the Council. Your species would gain access to our technology, our medicine, our protection. Earth would no longer be a Class D world struggling on the edges of civilized space. It would become a full partner in the galactic community. Marcus felt his heart skip. Full Union membership had been Earth's goal for over 50 years. It would mean cures for diseases that still killed millions. It would mean protection from the pirates and raiders that plagued human colonies. It would mean a future for his species among the stars. And if I refuse? He asked. Sen's expression did not change, but something in his eyes grew colder. If you refuse, you will spend the rest of your enhanced life in a research facility. You are the only successful cross-species integration of Sarath 9 in history. Surely you understand that we cannot simply let you walk away. You would be studied, examined, and tested until we understand exactly how your biology accomplished what should have been impossible. The threat was clear beneath the polite words. Cooperate or become a laboratory specimen. Marcus thought of his daughter Emma, waiting for him back on Earth. He thought of her future, of what it would mean for her to grow up in a world that had finally earned its place among the stars. He thought of the children who died every year from diseases that the Union had cured centuries ago. He thought of the 12,000 beings Morrow had killed, and the thousands more who would die if he was not stopped. I need assurances, Marcus said. I want the membership agreement signed and delivered to Earth's government before I begin. I want my daughter protected no matter what happens to me. And I want Vethkari on my team. Sen's perfect eyebrow raised slightly. The doctor who nearly killed you? She made a mistake while trying to save my life. That tells me something about her character. I trust her. The High Arbiter considered this for a moment, then nodded. Your terms are acceptable. The agreement will be signed within the hour. Your team will be assembled within the day. You leave tomorrow. Marcus stood and offered his hand in the human gesture of agreement. Sen looked at it for a moment with something that might have been amusement, then reached out and shook it. The alien's skin was cold and dry. One more thing, Sen said as Marcus turned to leave. Morrow is enhanced like you, but he has had years to master his abilities. He is faster, stronger, and more experienced. Do not underestimate him. I understand. No, Sen said softly. I do not think you do, not yet. But you will. Marcus left the conference room with the weight of 2 worlds on his shoulders. Earth's future depended on him now. And somewhere out there, a killer with the same fire in his blood was waiting. The hunt was about to begin. The ship assigned to Marcus and his team was called the Silent Edge, a fast attack vessel designed for covert operations. It was small but powerful, with weapons hidden beneath its innocent-looking hull and engines that could outrun almost anything in the Galaxy his team assembled in the cargo bay on the morning of departure. And Marcus could tell immediately that they did not want him there. Drax was the first to make his feelings known. The reptilian enforcer stood 7 feet tall, with scales, the color of dried blood, and teeth that could tear through metal. His yellow eyes fixed on Marcus with open contempt. "They send me a human," he growled. "I have crushed humans with my bare hands. They break like dry twigs. I am sure that was very impressive," Marcus replied calmly. His enhanced senses told him that Drax's heart rate was elevated with anger, that his muscles were tensing for a confrontation. But he also noticed that the reptilian was standing at a careful distance, uncertain. The second team member was Loom, a psychic amphibian who looked like a frog crossed with a deep-sea fish. Her skin was translucent blue, and her large eyes seemed to look right through physical matter. She said nothing, but Marcus could feel her mind brushing against his thoughts like cold water. "Stop that," he said quietly. Loom's eyes widened with surprise. "You felt me. That should not be possible. Humans have no psychic sensitivity. I'm learning that a lot of things that should not be possible seem to happen around me." Vethkari entered last, carrying a medical kit and a determined expression. She positioned herself beside Marcus, making her allegiance clear without saying a word. "This is the team?" Marcus asked. "3 aliens who think I am going to fail?" "2 aliens, Vethkari corrected. "I believe in you." Drax made a sound of disgust. "The doctor who cannot tell one drug from another." Very reassuring, Marcus stepped forward, moving into the reptilian's personal space. He had to look up to meet those yellow eyes, but he did not back down. "I did not ask for this mission. I did not ask for any of this. But I am here now, and I am going to find Keth Morrow and stop him. You can help me, or you can get out of my way." For a long moment, the cargo bay was silent. Drax's claws flexed, his muscles ready for violence. But then something changed in his expression, something like grudging respect. "Bold words for a small creature," he said. "I hope you can back them up." The first 3 weeks of the hunt were frustrating and painful. Marcus struggled to control his enhanced abilities. His senses would suddenly spike without warning, flooding his brain with information until he could barely think. He would hear conversations from the other side of the ship so clearly that he could not tell who was actually speaking to him. He would see through walls and then suddenly go blind as his vision shifted into spectrums. He did not understand the migraines were the worst part. When he pushed too hard, his head would feel like it was splitting apart. Vethkari worked constantly to help him manage the pain, developing new medications and techniques based on her observations of his strange biology. But slowly, Marcus began to learn. He discovered that he could control the sensory overload by focusing on one thing at a time. He learned to switch between normal vision and enhanced perception, like changing channels on a screen. He found that if he relaxed instead of fighting, the abilities came more naturally. More importantly, he learned to use what made him different. The alien operatives were brilliant in their own ways. Drax was a perfect soldier, following orders and executing plans with mechanical precision. Loom could read the surface thoughts of their targets, finding hidden enemies and detecting lies. But they both thought in straight lines, following logical paths to logical conclusions. Marcus did not think that way. He thought like a human, which meant he thought in circles and spirals and sudden jumps that made no sense until they suddenly died in a space station in the Corval system. They caught their first lead. A smuggler who had transported weapons for the Hollow Dawn agreed to talk in exchange for protection. He gave them the location of a supply depot on a frozen moon called Nexus 7. "It will be heavily guarded," Loom said after scanning the smuggler's mind for details. "At least 30 soldiers, maybe more. Standard assault tactics recommend a full strike team. We do not have a full strike team," Drax pointed out. "We have 3 operatives and 1 experiment. Marcus studied the holographic map of the depot, his enhanced mind processing details that the others could not see. The heat signatures, the structural weaknesses, the patterns of guard movement. We do not need a full strike team, he said slowly. We need a distraction. His plan was insane by any standard military doctrine. He proposed walking straight up to the front entrance and surrendering. They know a human survives Sarath 9, he explained. Mara will have told them. They will be curious. They will want to take me alive for questioning. While they are focused on me, you three come in through the waste disposal tunnels and hit their command center. And if they simply kill you on sight? Vethkari asked, her voice tight with fear. Marcus smiled grimly. Then you complete the mission anyway. The plan worked. Mostly the Hollow Dawn soldiers were so shocked by a human walking up to their gates that they forgot to follow proper security protocols. They crowded around him, weapons ready but not firing, arguing about what to do. By the time they decided to take him inside for interrogation, Drax had already torn through half their command center. The fight that followed was chaos. Marcus had never been in real combat before, only training simulations that had not prepared him for the noise and violence of the real thing. But his enhanced reflexes kept him alive when they should not have. He dodged attacks that he should not have seen coming. He fought with a desperate efficiency that surprised even himself when it was over. They had the depot and 43 prisoners. But more importantly, they had data. Communication logs, supply records, movement patterns. Clues that would lead them closer to Morrow. 3 more missions followed. Each one brought them closer to their target. Each one was harder than the last on a poisoned world. They raided a recruitment center and barely escaped when the whole building came down around them. On an asteroid colony, they infiltrated a Hollow Dawn cell and discovered too late that it was a trap. Only Marcus's strange instinct saved them, warning him that something was wrong just seconds before the ambush began. The team changed during those weeks. Drax stopped calling Marcus Experiment and started calling him Human instead, which seemed to be his version of a compliment. Loom stopped trying to read his thoughts and instead started asking him questions, curious about the strange patterns in his mind. Even Vethkari seemed less guilty and more hopeful, watching his progress with something like pride. Then they found Morrow. He was on a frozen moon at the edge of known space, in a fortress built into the ice itself. Their intelligence said he was planning something big, something that would make all his previous attacks look like minor incidents. This is it, Marcus said, as they orbited the moon. We end this here. Drax checked his weapons for the 10th time. The fortress is heavily defended. We will need to fight through at least 100 soldiers to reach Morrow. Then that is what we do. The assault was brutal. Even with their skills and Marcus's strange abilities, they were outnumbered and outgunned. Drax fell first, taking a plasma bolt to the chest while covering their advance. He was still alive, but could not continue. Loom went down next, her psychic defenses overwhelmed by Morrow's enhanced soldiers. In the end, only Marcus and Vethkari made it to the inner chamber. And waiting for them there was Keth Morrow himself. The scarred Tarvon smiled as they entered. He was bigger than Marcus had expected, his enhanced body packed with muscle and power. His eyes held the cold intelligence of a predator who had never known defeat. The human anomaly, Morrow said. I have been looking forward to this. He moved before Marcus could react, crossing the distance between them in an instant and slamming Vethkari into the wall. She crumpled and did not move. Then those burning eyes turned to Marcus. Now, Morrow said softly, let us see what you really are. The first blow came so fast that Marcus barely saw it. Morrow's fist connected with his chest and sent him flying across the chamber like a broken doll. He crashed into a wall of ice and felt something crack in his ribs. Pain exploded through his enhanced nervous system, amplified by the very compound that was supposed to make him stronger. He gasped for breath and forced himself to stand as Morrow walked toward him with slow, confident steps. "You move like a child," the scarred Torvald said. "6 weeks of accidental enhancement, and you think you can challenge someone with decades of training. It would be laughable if it was not so sad." Marcus tried to block the next attack, but Morrow was too fast. A kick caught him in the side and sent him spinning. He tasted blood in his mouth. His vision blurred with pain. "The Galactic Union must be truly desperate," Morrow continued. "Sending a human to stop me. A Class D organism, barely more evolved than the animals on your primitive world. What were they thinking?" Another blow knocked Marcus to his knees. His enhanced hearing could detect Vethkari's heartbeat across the room, weak but steady. She was alive. That gave him something to fight for. He pushed himself up again. Morrow paused, his scarred face showing something that might have been curiosity. Most beings would stay down after taking hits like that. Enhanced or not, your body should be telling you that the fight is over. "My body tells me a lot of things," Marcus said through bloody teeth. "I do not always listen." He attacked, throwing everything he had into a desperate assault. His fists connected with Morrow's chest, his enhanced strength driving the blows home. For one glorious moment, he saw surprise in the terrorist's eyes. Then Morrow countered. The next 30 seconds were a masterclass in violence. Morrow systematically dismantled Marcus's offense, blocking every strike and responding with punishing combinations that should have killed him. Marcus felt his left arm go numb. He felt something tear in his shoulder. He felt his enhanced perception flickering as his brain struggled to process the damage. He fell again. And again, he stood up. "What is wrong with you?" Morrow demanded. There was frustration in his voice now. "You cannot win this fight. Your body is breaking down. Every time you stand, you are making the damage worse. Any rational being would surrender." "I have been told that humans are not very rational," Marcus replied. He could barely see now. Blood was dripping into his eyes. His legs felt like they were made of water. He thought of his daughter Emma, waiting for him on Earth. He thought of the agreement that would give his species a future among the stars. He thought of all the people Morrow had killed, and all the people he would kill if no one stopped him, and he thought of his ancestors. The ones who had survived ice ages by refusing to freeze. The ones who had hunted mammoths with nothing but sticks and stones and sheer determination. The ones who had crawled through mud and blood in wars that should have destroyed them. The ones who had looked at the stars and decided to reach for them. They had given him something that no enhancement could provide. They had given him the absolute, irrational refusal to accept defeat. Marcus attacked again. Morrow beat him down. Again and again and again. Every time Marcus rose, he was slower, weaker, more broken. His enhanced healing was trying to keep up, but it could not repair damage faster than Morrow was inflicting it. But he kept standing. The terrorist's expression changed as the fight continued. The confidence faded, replaced by something else. Something that looked almost like fear. "Why will you not stay down?" Morrow shouted. His calculated composure was cracking. "You are dying. I can see it. Your systems are failing. You cannot possibly think you can still win," Marcus smiled. His teeth were red with blood. "I do not have to win. I just have to not lose." Morrow's eyes widened as he finally understood. Marcus was not trying to defeat him in combat. He was trying to outlast him. Every moment the fight continued was a moment for reinforcements to arrive, a moment for the mission to succeed, a moment for Earth's future to be secured. "You would die just to delay me?" Morrow demanded. "If that is what it takes." The Torvald roared with rage and launched his most vicious assault yet. Marcus felt ribs shatter. He felt his enhanced vision finally give out, leaving him in a world of shadows and pain. He could not breathe. He could barely stand, but in his right hand, hidden during the entire fight, He still held the plasma cutter he had picked up from a fallen soldier. Morrow was so focused on breaking him that he forgot to watch for weapons Marcus thrust upward with the last of his strength. The plasma blade sank into Morrow's chest. The terrorist's eyes went wide with shock and pain. "Impossible," Morrow whispered. "You were finished. You had nothing left." Marcus fell to his knees, still gripping the weapon. "Humans always have something left." Morrow collapsed beside him. Blood was spreading across the ice floor. His enhanced body was already trying to heal the wound, but the damage was too severe. The great terrorist, the killer of thousands, was dying. "What are you?" Morrow asked. His voice was weak now, confused. "You should have broken. Every calculation said you would break." "I do not understand." Marcus coughed, and more blood came up. His own body was failing. He could feel it shutting down, system by system. "We are human. We do not break. We bend, we crack, we fall apart. But we do not break." Morrow's eyes lost their focus. His breathing stopped. The leader of the Hollow Dawn was dead. Marcus tried to stand, but his legs would not respond. The world was going dark around him. He heard running footsteps and shouting voices. He felt hands on his body, lifting him. He heard Vethkar's voice calling his name. Then everything went black. He woke in a hospital bed on a Galactic Union medical station. The room was white and clean. Machines beeped quietly around him. And sitting beside his bed was Vethkari, her compound eyes watching him with relief and wonder. "You survived," she said softly. Again, the doctors did not think it was possible. "You lost so much blood, so many internal injuries. But you survived." Marcus tried to speak, but his throat was too dry. Vethkari helped him drink some water. It was the best thing he had ever tasted. "The mission?" He managed to ask complete. "The Hollow Dawn is broken. Without Morrow, the organization is falling apart. Drax and Loom are recovering. They will be fine." The door opened and High Arbiter Sen entered. His perfect face was unreadable as always, but there was something different in his eyes. "Something that might have been respect, Commander Cole," he said. "You have accomplished what dozens of enhanced operatives could not. Keth Morrow is dead, and the threat he posed has been neutralized. The Galactic Union is in your debt." "Earth's membership?" Marcus asked, already finalized. "The agreement was signed while you were unconscious. Your species is now a full member of the Galactic Council. Medical technology, defensive systems, and trade access are being arranged as we speak." Marcus closed his eyes. Emma would grow up in a different world now. A world where humans were not classed the afterthoughts, but respected members of a galactic community. That was worth any price. "There is one more thing," Sen continued. "The Council has been discussing your case extensively. What you accomplished should not have been possible. We have spent centuries believing that Class D species were fundamentally limited, inferior by biology. You have proven that belief wrong. We are not inferior," Marcus said. "Just different," Sen nodded slowly. "I am beginning to understand that. Your species does not have the strongest bodies, or the fastest minds, or the most efficient biology. But you have something else. Something we do not have words for. Perhaps stubbornness is close, but that does not seem adequate." Vethkari spoke up. "I have been trying to understand it since the accident. I have studied human history, your wars, your disasters, your achievements. And I think I finally understand. What is it?" Sen asked. "They endure," she said simply. "Against all logic, against all odds, against everything that tells them they should fail. They endure. It is not a biological advantage. It is something deeper, something in their very nature. They break and they heal and they keep going. And they never ever give up." Marcus thought about her words. He thought about his ancestors and his daughter and all the humans who would come after him. He thought about what it meant to be human in a galaxy full of beings who were stronger, faster, and smarter. Meant being underestimated it, meant being broken it, meant standing up anyway. The door opened again, and a communication officer entered with a message. It was a video from Earth, from Emma. Her face appeared on a screen, bright and excited. "Dad," she said, "they told us everything. You are a hero. The whole planet is celebrating. When are you coming home?" Marcus smiled. For the first time in weeks, he felt at peace. "Soon, sweetheart. I am coming home soon." Outside the window, the stars stretched out forever. A galaxy full of wonders and dangers, now open to humanity in ways it had never been before. And somewhere out there, other species were learning what humans had always known. They were fragile. They were primitive. They were classed, and they were utterly, magnificently, impossibly unbreakable. And